Okay, next one is super speed. Now, prior to beginning, what superheroes have super speed? Flash. Well, we don't have a Flash movie yet, do we? Who else? Come on, we just watched the Avengers, right? No? Nobody watched the second Avengers? You guys are not geeks. I watched that movie 3 times in theaters. All right, so Quicksilver from the newest Avengers movie had super speed, and there was a scene in the newest Avenger movie where this derailed train was coming towards people, and then he was saving people by pushing them out of the way in front of the train because he could run, so he was just out moving people out of the way. Let's see what he's really doing.
Some superheroes can move faster than the wind. The men in Apollo 10 reached a record-breaking speed of around 25,000 miles per hour when the shuttle re-entered the Earth's atmosphere in 1969. Wouldn't we save a lot of time to be able to move that fast? But what's the catch? Air is not empty. Elements like oxygen and nitrogen, even countless dust particles, make up the air around us. When we move past these things in the air, we're rubbing against them and creating a lot of friction, which results in heat. Just like rubbing your hands together warms them up, or rubbing 2 sticks together makes fire, the faster objects rub together, the more heat is generated. So, if we're running at 25,000 miles per hour, the heat from friction would burn our faces off. Blah. Even if we somehow withstood the heat, the sand and dirt in the air would still scrape us up with millions of tiny cuts all happening at the same time. Ever seen the front bumper or grill of a truck? What do you think all the birds and bugs would do to your open eyes or exposed skin? Come on! I'm gonna feel that tomorrow! Okay, so you'll wear a mask to avoid destroying your face. But what about the people in buildings between you and your destination? It takes us approximately 1/5 of a second to react to what we see. By the time we see what is ahead of us and react to it, time times velocity equals distance equals 1/5 of a second times 25,000 miles per hour equals 1.4 miles. We would have gone past it or through it by over a mile. We're either going to kill ourselves by crashing into the nearest wall at super speed, or worse, if we're indestructible, we've essentially turned our bodies into missiles that destroy everything in our path.
So think about that. Okay, so it takes 1/5 of a second for us to see, perceive what's going on, and then make a decision to react to it. 1/5 of a second. So if you have a speed of 25 miles per hour, after you plug everything into the formula for the math teachers, it really is 1.4 miles. So by the time you see something you want to swerve out of the way, you're already through it. Now, if you're just a regular person, if you just can go really, really fast, like Quicksilver was just a person that's really, really fast, then all he's doing is just killing himself over and over and over again. It's kind of like little pinball machines, like bung, 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 bung. Because you can't see where you're going. Like, you can't perceive everything that fast. Now, if you were indestructible, then really all you're doing is you're turning your body into this gigantic bullet that is going to destroy everything in your path. So by the time you see that there is a woman holding a baby, her brain is going to be splattered all on the side of the road. I wanted to write that in here, but they said too bloody. We can't show that in a cartoon meant for children. So I'm going to share it with here adults. Because in my head, I imagine somebody saying, okay, I want to go from here to there in half a second and zoom, and then this person's going to show up just covered in blood and goo and like intestines and everything hanging off of him. Because that's what realistically would happen. I was interviewed by BBC for their Science in Action podcast, and I openly said horrible things about the latest Superman movie. The Superman versus Batman hasn't come out yet. So the last Superman movie where they were just crashing into buildings. They come out completely covered in dust. I'm like, where's all the blood and goo from all the people in the building you just killed, you horrible, horrible people? Seriously. I mean, the consequences of destroying those buildings is not just dust. No, you kill people whenever you go in there. And something that the movies don't show is that A lot of the workers at 9/11 tragedy actually ended up dying a lot sooner than they should have because of inhaling all of those dust particles. So by destroying the building, not only did they cost Earth a lot of money, they killed a lot of people in that area because for the next few years, you're going to just keep inhaling these dust particles into your body, and it kills you. And so they're just irresponsible aliens. I can't say people because they're aliens, but still, like movies don't have such a great happy ending. We really think about the consequences. And they're just focusing on one person being buried in the rubble. I'm like, who cares about that one person? You just killed so many others. Oh, Hollywood. Sorry.
So, long-distance travel at 25,000 miles per hour would leave us burning up, covered in bugs, and leaves no time to react. What about short bursts to a location we can see with no obstacles in between? Okay, let's say a bullet is about to hit a beautiful damsel in distress. So our hero swoops in at super speed, grabs her, and carries her to safety. That sounds very romantic. But in reality, that girl will probably suffer more damage from the hero than the bullet if he moved her at super speed.
Okay, so one of the things I do want to mention is not just science versus superheroes. Let's talk about science versus Hollywood. In Hollywood, whenever the rule is if you get a bullet in your limb, you just walk it off. You're fine. Shoulder, oh, flesh wound, please, flesh wound. No. And then anytime you get any bullet in this region, you die immediately. That's not how things work in real life. You can get shot 20 times in your torso and still survive. Actually, the survival rate, as long as you get to a doctor, is about 95%. Only 5% of the time when you get shot, you'll die. Okay, if you think, okay, so how do I ensure that I kill somebody? Let me just like stab them in the heart. Getting stabbed in the heart, you only die 1/3 of the time, by the way. So it's kind of silly when you think about how the movies portray, especially if you're a henchman with no name. If you can just like get one bullet in your shoulder, you're down for good. But that's not how things go. If this girl were to be shot with a bullet, even in the torso, that would be a lot less damage than this person just moving her out of the way. Because basically, remember we talked about if you're moving really fast and you're indestructible, you're basically a humongous bullet. So instead of being hit by a bullet traveling at normal bullet size, he sees the bullet and then he reacts to the bullet and then moves the girl out. So he must be moving faster than the bullet, yes? Right? He has to be moving faster than the bullet to move the girl out of the way. And he's a lot bigger. So instead of hitting the girl with one bullet this size, you just hit her with a person that's going faster. Which one is going to do more damage? So Quicksilver just killed everybody in Avengers. So sorry for ruining that movie for you.
Newton's first law of motion deals with inertia, which is the resistance to a change in its state of motion. So an object will continue moving or staying at the same place unless something changes it. Acceleration is the rate that velocity changes over time. When the girl at rest, velocity equals 0 miles per hour, begins accelerating to reach the speed within seconds, velocity increases rapidly to 25,000 miles per hour, her brain would crash into the side of her skull, and when she stops suddenly, velocity decreases rapidly back to 0 miles per hour, her brain would crash into the other side of her skull, turning her brain into mush.
The way you want to think about this is if you have like let's say a little box of Jell-O, but with some space on the side, it's not completely filled with Jell-O, and then you just shake it. You just shake it really hard. You shake it really hard, and that's what has happened to a brain whenever you're moving it really fast and then stopping it immediately. Because if you actually fill the entire container with Jell-O with no space, then there's no room, there's no distance to create that damage. But if there's some space, which our brains do, we have space and then all these little things, our brain is actually floating inside of our skull. So whenever you shake it, it breaks. That's how it goes.
The brain is too fragile to handle the sudden movement. So is every part of her body for that matter. Remember, it's not the speed that causes the damage because the astronauts survived Apollo 10. It's the acceleration or sudden stop that causes our internal organs to crash into the front of our bodies the way we move forward in a bus when the driver slams on the brakes. What the hero did to the girl is mathematically the same as running her over with a space shuttle at maximum speed. She probably died instantly at the point of impact. He's going to owe this poor girl's family an apology and a big fat compensation check. Oh, and possibly face jail time. Doctors have to carry liability insurance just in case they make a mistake and hurt their patients. I wonder how much superhero insurance policy would cost. Now,
The charge is called manslaughter, I think, if you kill somebody accidentally, but still many, many, many years in jail. Just saying. I have fun with my job. I don't care if you're not having fun. I have fun.